Cool. Well, let's get started, guys. Thank you all for joining. For those who don't know me, my name is Jared Flagel. I'm Director of Marketing here at WebMechanix, joined by Chris Mechanic, our fearless leader, co-founder, CEO. For those of you who don't know or are new to the Growth Clinic, this is a session we do every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time that's all about solving our toughest growth marketing and digital marketing challenges. Every week we discuss a particular topic and then leave some room at the end for a Q&A where we answer your questions. And today we're talking about a topic that's very near and dear to our hearts as digital marketing geeks. We're talking all about 10 digital marketing tools that you might not know about. A lot of them are either somewhat unknown or kind of under the radar, but they are tools that we've tested and vetted, we've used for our clients or actively using for our clients. We've found them to be very effective for driving results and doing digital marketing stuff. So without further ado, Chris, why don't we dive right in? I know you wanted to start with a pretty cool keyword tool that you've been using for a while, and let's run the crew through our top 10 tools.
100%, Jared, 100%. And I'm just about to share my screen here. You guys able to see that? Everybody seeing that?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, and there may be more than 10 that we show you here at the end of the day because we love a good tool. Like a lot of our biggest wins historically have come from finding a tool or a technology or a capability and then applying it, to one or more client sites. So some of these tools are like potential game-changing tools. Some of them are just neat or cool or interesting or useful in other ways. But we do like to keep this pretty conversational. Feel free to drop any questions, comments into the chat in real time. And we also don't want to talk at you this whole time. We're going to go fairly quickly and then open up the floor to you guys so that you can ask any follow-up questions or any other questions that are on your mind, whether tools related or not.
Yeah, and Greg, great question. Are all the tools you're showing us free? So for the most part, the tools are either free or relatively cheap to use. So cheap, we're talking like in most like a couple $100. But yeah, we try to focus on tools that are relatively accessible or at least free to try out.
Cool. So jumping right in, keywords everywhere. For the SEOs out there or the PPCs, keywords everywhere is a really, really useful tool. What it does is it basically overlays onto the search. Like you can say online marketing, for instance, and keywords everywhere will overlay onto the search screen right there the volume of that particular term, the cost per click for that particular term, as well as providing some other related terms and longer tail terms. So some of these you'll find like keywords everywhere will always include these related terms that you're seeing, but it'll also extrapolate. This is a paid tool. So for instance, if you wanted to see search volumes for all of these long tails, you would have to use 27 credits, but it's dirt cheap. I think you get like 100,000 credits for like $10. So this is just a great tool for on-the-fly keyword research, which has been very useful for many. And also, if anybody ever sees your screen, they'll be like, what is that? That's awesome. So that's the tool, the first tool for SEOs. Second tool, which is great for strategists, is called Ghostery. Ghostery is a hybrid ad blocker, so it can speed up your browsing experience, but it also is a technographic spy tool. That means basically, if you want to know what tools or technology somebody's using, like if you have a big competitor who's savvy and tends to be always one step ahead and you want to understand what tools and tech that they're using, you can go right in. This is a Chrome extension, so you can go right in and look at, name any site, like say Robinhood. What Ghostery will do right up here is you click it and it will populate and show you the different tools and tech that the competitor is using. And this is great for tech discovery. So like Google beacons, I never heard of Google beacons. So you Google that real quick, and that's how we oftentimes find new and interesting tools. Third tool, which is an absolute must have in my view is Hotjar, which is qualitative analytics. So this basically completes the story. Google Analytics will give you the quantitative. It'll give you the ones and zeros, the numbers in terms of what's happening, but it lacks a why element and a how element. Hotjar has heat maps. It has session recordings. These are basically watching a video of a user moving around. It's got feedback generation via polls as well as surveys. These can be really, really useful for understanding your audience better, as well as building audiences based on user input items. So for instance, if you sell Nikes and Reeboks, you could say, hey, which brand do you like better, Nike or Reeboks? And everybody that selects Reeboks can be made into an audience and activated on your ad platforms. So Hotjar is also a paid tool. However, I think it's well worth the money. There's a lot of different customizations you can do. One of my favorite features out of the box is if you're using session recordings, it will automatically track rage clicks. So you can filter by just rage clicks. Rage clicks are basically where, you know, users are clicking a lot or indicating that they're frustrated. And just finding one or two little usability or UX errors on the site and fixing it can oftentimes provide some significant lift.
Greg says Hotjar has made a huge impact for EverFi this year. Greg, that's awesome. I'm curious if you wouldn't mind jumping on for a sec and sharing what specific impacts are you seeing with Hotjar? Like, how have you been able to use the tool?
Yeah, so we've used it a lot for page design of our key kind of strategic hubs where we're aggregating a lot of content. Just being able to see, like we were in a phase where we had really large header images that were pushing a ton of content below the fold and making slight tweaks, pushing a lot of hyperlinks up higher on the page, really kind of revamped our kind of monthly hubs. We did one for Financial Literacy Month with videos and saw huge lifts in page views, clicks, conversions, video views, everything from using this tool. And we're using it across the K-12 team that I'm on and all of the other business lines within the company.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, there's another variation of this tool which you may be interested in called Full Story. It's a little more expensive, but what it does that's really interesting is that it will assign the same user ID to each individual. So in terms of, say, like session recordings, you can basically you can filter by that specific individual and see multiple sessions over time, which is kind of cool. But I love the polling and the survey features, like the amount of insights that can be gleaned from a good survey are just pretty dramatic. You can see here's if you're like doing a new, like say that you're doing a redesign for your site, it could be really useful to basically recruit. So you can run a survey recruiting, let me see here, like something like this, if you're still watching my screen. Just like, hey, participate in a study and get a gift card. You don't even need to offer a gift card sometimes. Like you can just ask people to participate and then take them through essentially a questionnaire such as this. So I think once you click through that, it'll say, hey, tell us about yourself, da, da, da. And then you can use that to get user insights, like running in conjunction with a redesign, because the thing about redesigns is there's a lot of guesswork usually that goes into them. So you may be right, you may be wrong, but it's a neat little process you can use to really be a lot more confident in the decisions that you end up making. So the next couple tools that I want to show you guys are in the realm of spying. I love spy tools. Like you could give me almost any URL and I could tell you a lot about that individual URL, but the Facebook ads library, probably a lot of you guys are already familiar with. So you can search, by an individual company, but you can also search by categories. So you can say, hey, look, either show me all ads, you can search by these particular categories. You can tap into this via API, but the way to access this, so if you go to any individual org's Facebook page, you just scroll down until the transparency tab over here, or the page transparency tab over here on the right. You hit see all, you go to the bottom, go to ads library, and then it's just going to populate right there. Take it with a grain of salt. Not all ads are in here. If you're doing dynamic creative, it may not show up appropriately. But you can see not only the individual ad concepts running, but you can also see basically the rate of new ads being introduced and launched. So you can see apparently Robinhood took a long break from Facebook advertising between June 22 and June 22, or this particular ad was just doing so well that it ran that entire time. So I love Facebook ads library. You can do a very similar thing with LinkedIn ads. So you can go to any LinkedIn company page and then basically browse over to posts. And then once you get over to posts, you navigate over to the ads. And that's where you can see all types of ads that these individual orgs are running on LinkedIn. It's for the B2Bs out there. Another one of my favorites here is Spyfu. Spyfu is a paid tool. However, you can get some useful insights for free. You just basically punch in any domain. And this is really, I think, for search engine marketers. So they've got detailed SEO research, detailed PPC research. You can see I'm in the non-logged in version here, but just from a look, man, Robinhood's traffic is just, their organic traffic is in green, their paid traffic is in blue. So they're getting a ton of organic traffic, or they were getting a ton of organic traffic. They're getting hit hard right there. Jared, it may be a good time to call Robinhood right now. But it'll also estimate their monthly Google Ads budget. And one of my favorite things about Spyfu is the combat visualizations. So when you click on combat, you can then compare the universes, the paid search universes. So you can see the size of these circles indicates the number of keywords that an individual domain is ranking for. The overlap feature is really, really interesting. So this little quadrant here that I'm highlighting are terms that all three of these competitors are ranking on. However, terms here, if I'm, Robinhood's marketer, I'm looking at terms here because these are terms that TD Ameritrade and Zacks both rank on, but Robinhood does not. So when you click through to those, I believe it'll give you some preview for free, but then you will need to log in to more results. Again, with these spy tools, guys, you got to take them with a grain of salt because like you see wonky stuff like this in there, like advanced auto parts near me. So take it with a grain of salt, but largely it is pretty useful directionally. If you're deep into paid social, you might like AdSpy. AdSpy is like Facebook ads library on steroids. So here you can search and filter for all types of different things, including ad text, which is really cool. You can filter by site type, by gender, ages, all types of different things. When the ads were created by, you can stack these filters. And it will also pull in automatically the LCSs, the likes, comments, shares, for these individuals. So this is basically like a media buyer's dream because you can find effectively the most, or essentially the most effective ads in your space, and then understand a little bit more about why they're working so well. There's other tools that are other spy tools that I like also. SEMrush is a good one, similar to Spyfu. It is paid. There's also Ahrefs, similar. So they both are paid, but they both work the same. You punch in a URL. It will provide some preview data. A lot of times the free preview data is worthwhile as well. So with that, Jared, I believe you're up.
Yep. So moving on to tool number 7. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So this is actually a free tool that our director of development put together after being dissatisfied with a lot of the tracking debugger tools in the market. So we created the WebMechanix tracking debugger. And what's cool about it is it allows you to get really granular data on the trackers that any website is using. So if Ghostery is really good for identifying the technographics of a site, the tracking debugger is really good for helping you understand specifically how your website or a competitor's website is tracking its users across various stages of its funnel. So it's free Chrome plugin, so you can go to this page here. I'll drop it in chat, and you can download it for free, plug it into your site. And then what you can do, just to demonstrate it in action, is fire up the, if you right click and hit inspect element, I think it's also Command-Shift-I or something like that, you'll pull up the developer tools, and then you'll see this little drop down here that says tracking debugger once you have the plugin installed. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to refresh the page. So looking at Lending Tree's funnel, right? And we can see they're using all the trackers that they're specifically using and firing on that first step, right, of their landing page experience. So you can see they're firing a conversion, a view through conversion for Google. They're firing a page view in Google Analytics, firing a page load for Yahoo. So they might be using some Yahoo ads as well. And then once I select whatever sort of loan purpose and hit the next step, it'll continue to track the various trackers that are firing throughout this journey, right? So you can see it just fired a Facebook page view, and you'll also get all the individual event data for these events, right? So you can start to see, not just what events are they firing, but how are they categorizing those events? What's their taxonomy for tracking, right? And perhaps even more interestingly, you can see when certain events fire and when they don't, right? So for example, if I said I wanted my money within 48 hours and a certain conversion fired there, but it didn't fire if I said 2 weeks, that would be interesting, right? So you can go back and forth and see in these different scenarios, when are they firing certain events or certain conversions, right? And this goes back into a lot of the data postback stuff that Chris has been talking about, where if businesses or a company that you're evaluating selectively posting back data when certain users do certain things but not other things on their website, that's an interesting thing to take note of, right? And this tool can allow you to do that, right? To see, for example, if they're only qualifying in people with a certain loan amount that they want or within a certain time frame, right? And posting that data back to Facebook and back to Google to say, hey, we only want to find more people that look like this, that want to get a loan within 48 hours or want to get $10,000 or more, in loan and not less than $10,000, right? So super cool tool if you're looking to get geeky and granular with your tracking, and also understand not just on your website, what events are firing, but also how your competitors are setting up their tracking and data post back. Super cool tool to evaluate that. Tool number 8. Now this is an oldie but goodie. This has been around for a long time, but still works wonderfully to this day. Screaming Frog is a company that developed this tool called the SEO Spider. And what it does, it's old school. You download it, exe file onto your computer. But what you can do is essentially scrape any website on the internet and get all the metadata from that website, right? So this is really great for technical SEO, for identifying on-site optimization opportunities on your website, backlink opportunities on your website, pages that need backlinks or internal links. You can do all that with Screaming Frog. And just to show you what it looks like, it essentially shows you, once you scrape the site, all the internal links. So all the internal pages and where the links are pointing for those pages. It'll show you all the external links, right? So all the links you're getting from other websites and various data on those. You'll also get response codes, and this is really useful for site management. One area this is really useful is if you're doing a redesign, you can Screaming Frog your old site and your staging site and identify like what are those pages that are not going to be on the old site or not going to be on the new site that need to be redirected from the old site, right? So you can start to do your redirect mapping just by scraping with this tool. Or if you have a current site, you can identify 404 errors, which is basically page not found errors, and find those pages that you need to redirect to other pages because they're broken links, right? So that's just scratching the surface. There's so many things you can do with this. You can identify duplicate instances of page titles, meta descriptions. You can go in and optimize them with this tool. So many cool things you can do with this. And it's like It's free, I think, to download and do like a pool of like 500 URLs. If you want to do more than that, I think it's like $200 a year. So the license is pretty reasonable.
There's a question from Amber on Screaming Frog, which is it just for your own sites or can you run that on competitors?
Any site on the internet.
Any site. Cool.
Yep. All right. Now, tool number 9. Now, this is more of a hack, really, but it's a pretty cool hack that allows you to make tweaks to any website without having to log into a CMS, right? So, I'll drop you guys the link to this, but basically what you want to do is close the pop-up, and then you want to highlight this code here and drag it into your bookmark bar, right? So essentially what this code is doing is it's allowing you to start editing the body content of the page that you're on, right? In that particular tab in your browser. So once you've created the bookmark, you go to the page that you want to edit and you just click that button. And then now you can start playing around with your website. So if I want to say, instead of potential ROI, I can do that. If I want to say we're an awesome marketing agency, I can do that. If I want to, this is what we do best, I can do that. Right? Anything you want to tweak on the site. If I want to change how this looks, if I want to, edit sort of the length or format of a certain copy to see how it flows, I can test it out here, take a screenshot, send it to my design team, say, hey, let me know your thoughts, and then implement from there. Right? So even before you log into a CMS, you can test stuff out, play around with your site, and then move to production stage once you feel comfortable with your what you've played around with. You can also play around with your competitor sites and just make them look silly. That's always fun to do too.
Yeah, you can freak your team out on the call, like making them think that you're editing the live site. They'll be like, oh, well, how'd you do that? But it's great for writing copy. Like if you're the type, like I used to be in WordPress, I'd write copy, then I would publish it real quick to preview it to see how the lines broke and how it rendered. This just makes that process a lot easier.
Yep. And Amber, it's primarily for changing the wording. There is a way you can inspect element on the page and toggle the CSS. It's a bit nerdy, nerdy to get into here. But if you go to the inspect element section, if I can remember how to do this.
You basically just rewrite it, like click on the code that you want to rewrite and just rewrite it.
Yeah, you can click on the code and rewrite it. I think if you pull this out too, yeah, the CSS pops up. And this is where you can start to edit the styles, right? So if you want to change like the preset colors, you can do that here. Yeah, so there's a way you can kind of hack it with inspect element. This is sort of just a nice quick thing to like quickly edit copy. Jack says, I messed with my friend using this. It looked like his wedding website was hacked.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome tool. Like it really looks like the page has changed.
It's like, what happened to your site? You send a screenshot.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can like make your bank account look huge. I think that's what Sam Parr was doing in the article. Jim says, can you paste a link to the code editing tool we are using? Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'll drop it in the chat right now. Using Google Optimize for this. Yes.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Jim, like this doesn't actually change or update the code. So in other words, like if you refresh the screen, basically right after you make the change, it will revert back to the old version. This is just for previewing. Whereas like with Google Optimize, you are actually changing the live experience.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to tool number 10. So this is a bit of a shameless plug, but our Skunkworks team, our development team has been busy at work solving a big problem that we've noticed with marketing operations in particular, right? So especially if you're using, if you've got a big site, it's got a lot of forms, especially if you're using HubSpot or Marketo, you probably have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of campaigns that you're running. Over time, you start to add more and more and more forms to your website, and it can spiral out of control. It can be very difficult to manage. And one of the challenges with having a lot of forms on your website too is it becomes difficult to track because platforms like Google Analytics only have a certain limited number of goal slots you can use to track forms. So if you have hundreds or thousands of forms, but you can only track 20 of them, it becomes very difficult to measure your marketing, right? So we developed this tool called FormHQ. And essentially what it does is it allows you to group and manage all the forms on your website, in one convenient dashboard. And how it works is, so just show you guys the dashboard here. So you can see we have 141 forms on our website. And then what we can do with FormHQ is sort those into various groups, right? So just to show you guys what that looks like, blog, newsletter, description. So you can see that we're taking the individual forms. So we've integrated this with our HubSpot forms. And we're saying, hey, these are the forms that match the group type or the category type of blog, newsletter, description, or contact request. These are event registration forms and so forth. And what this allows us to do is, instead of managing hundreds of forms across our website, essentially have 11 groups that we're able to sort everything into. And then from a tracking perspective, we're able to then take those groups and track those groups of forms in Google Analytics, right? Which is important because not only can we then measure those individual goals, we can create those categories against individual goals and measure those goals, but then we can assign values to those individual groups of forms, right? So if we value a contact request higher than we value a blog or newsletter subscription, we can take all of those forms for contact requests and make sure that they have that assigned value that's relative to a contact request versus a newsletter subscription, right? So it allows you to not only keep everything organized and be able to manage your forms really easily in one place, but then allows you to sync that into your tracking so that your tracking is easily managed as well and complete and holistic, so that you're not limited by goal slots, for example. The one other thing you can do with this tool that's pretty cool is sort your forms. So whenever you create a new form on the site, going forward, instead of having to manually group it into one of the groups you created, you can create these sort rules, right? So if we want to say all forms that have the name of ebook or case study, report, guide, template, etc., put those under gated content, right? And then all those forms will get sorted under the gated content group. Same with contact forms and so forth, right? So essentially, it makes it super easy for you to manage all your forms, and also gets rid of the technical debt going forward as well. So as you continue to add more forms to your site, as you add campaigns and as things grow, it still stays super easy to manage and super lean for your marketing ops team.
Yep. And there's probably dozens of other tools. I want to hear what tools you guys are using and loving. Jarrett, you're giving me ideas just right off the top. I should mention Opt-in Monster. So Opt-in Monster is just real easy for creating pop-ups. I know that people hate pop-ups. I know that there's pop-up blockers and what have you. We still kind of sort of love them. We like to do them tastefully. Like, we don't like to overindulge or be overly aggressive, but Opt-in Monster just makes it real easy. It's like very little code. Folks can basically, marketers can jump in and do things themselves. You can do exit intent. You can set the trigger rules, et cetera, et cetera. I love the keyword research tools like Google Keyword Tool. There's Uber Suggest also, which will show you all of the suggested searches like in one fell swoop. And then there was another really, really good one that I just had in mind. Ooh, somebody just put one in Audience.
Audience.com. Ooh, free insights.
Dude, so we like to build interactive conversion experiences. So we'll very rarely have like a big visible form on our landing page, or else we try our best not to. So we like to build quizzes, say, or like other types of interactive experiences. So Typeform has actually gotten pretty good. It used to suck in terms of integrating with Google Analytics and such, but it is a pretty good sort of lightweight, very low code, something that marketers can do. But there's also Get Tolstoy. So Get Tolstoy is a sick tool that we just found it recently, and we're experimenting with it now. But think about like an interactive journey where you can track each step in the funnel, but video based. So like almost anybody can use this to dramatically improve conversion rates and also better segment audiences and just really learn a lot. Because if you're just sending to a landing page, like you see click, page view, form submit, and that's about it. But if you can do something interactive, then you learn a lot more for every click that you're buying. Hey, hold on just 1 second. You guys keep going. I'll be right back.
Yeah, so Greg, maybe tell us about Audience. This tool looks really awesome. How are you guys using it?
Yeah, so I actually found out about this one at the Digital Summit, I think last year or the year before, in an SEO session that I was in. And like I've only used the free version so far, and it's been great for direction on like hashtags to use, how to build audiences for social targeting. But I've gone in and you can create your own profile. For me, it's, you know, K through 12 teachers and administrators. It's all based off of social media information. So you want to, you know, target people who are following, in my case, you know, We Are Teachers or certain large educational, K through 12 educational companies online. It builds a profile in the free version, I think, of up to close to 10,000 people who match whatever descriptions you put in. I'm trying to reach first grade teachers, second grade teachers, high school counselors, elementary principals. You can get as, you know, detailed as you want. And then you get a massive amount of information on their usage behaviors, by media affinity, you know, what TV channels, what websites they're visiting, what they do outside of their day-to-day roles, demographics, psychographics, geographics. Like it's really, really insightful around keywords and messaging strategy. So I would suggest, like I know folks here are using it to help them with campaign strategy and how to reach people. Maybe think about some different ways to reach your audience from the information that you get out of this report.
That's super cool. I dig this. Yeah, I'll definitely play around with this. Thanks, Greg. This is awesome.
Yep.
So Jack's got a question. Do you guys have any favorite free online A/B test MVP test calculators? Do you mean like a statistical significance calculator?
Yeah, like a statistical significance calculator.
I don't know that we have any go-to, but there's this site that I've used personally called Split Tester, and it's just real simple. It's just basically like, you know, for variation 1, put in the number of clicks and the number of conversions. But you can sub click and conversion out for anything else, but it's just free, and it just gives you like a quick statistical significance calculation. I don't know that you can do multiple variations all in one view, but you could, you know, go through and punch in, do different calculate. Like if you have.
Yeah. This is the one, I'll send over the one that I've been using just because it's the only multivariate one that, like, it was the most detailed one, but I don't know if it's the best or if there are better ones out there. I also like always, it'd be great to see like one that actually had, for instance, for e-com, where you put in the revenue associated with these conversions, and it also takes into account the revenue associated, like, so you see the magnitudes and not just the conversion rates. But I've never, like, I don't know which tools are best to use. Like, I was just curious if you guys had anything you used.
Yeah, I'm not sure personally what we use. I could ask about it certainly and get back with you.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, I know we end up building a lot of tools for clients because a lot of the free tools just don't have the logic built in that we would want, right? So that's, you know, that's kind of the heavy lift of it, right? You know, the multi-step is relatively straightforward. It's like if you want an if this then that output, then you know, it can be a bit more challenging. Jim had some interesting notes here. We love Unbounce for A/B testing and add landing pages and doing website pop-ups. Yeah, we love a good landing page builder. You know, some other ones that we've used in the past, I think, are lead pages. And then, Chris, what are some other landing page builders that?
Hey, Greg. Other landing page builders, ClickFunnels, there's Instapage, there's HubSpot itself.
Yeah.
There's a good one for WordPress that is, the name is escaping me. Yeah. That's all good, Jim.
Jim, you're good. No, you also had a question about Spark Toro.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Spark Toro. I've heard of it actually, but I'm not quite sure what it is.
Yeah, I don't know that we've used it extensively. I know it's Rand from Oz's new company. And I've seen him post a couple times some really interesting tactics of things you can do with it, but just haven't had the time to play around with it. But yeah, if you've had any experience with it or have any tips to share with it, definitely let us know, because I'd be curious to try it out. Another tool that I haven't tried out yet, but it's getting a lot of buzz and it's pretty cool, is this tool Mutiny. I think it's called Mutiny HQ. So this is for website personalization. So especially if you have so basically the use case is like any sort of page you create on your site, you can instantly pull like the data on the company that's visiting, and it'll create a personalized experience around that, right? And you can do it, it's like a no-code way to do that, right? And then they also have this stuff where they write your headlines and measure the impact of everything. So it's kind of like a all-in-one personalization platforms that it's what they're building towards. So I thought this was a pretty cool one too.
Yeah, very cool. I've never seen that one.
Yeah. Any other tools you guys like or have questions about?
A tool that I like is, I believe it's Funnelytics or funnel.io. It pretty much just tracks like the whole marketing funnel. And it shows you like real time, you can build out the funnel visually and you put different parts of code on the website. It actually tracks in real time, like, hey, 1,000 visitors came to this website. This was the conversion rate. This is the expected revenue. And it goes all the way down the funnel. And it even goes into like the email marketing, as well as different SMS bumps. You just have to have all of the tracking set up. But actually, this is a different website. A different one that's similar to this one is marketplan.io. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, this one. So it's really good for just an overall visual for everyone to see where the traffic is coming from, what landing page is going to, what's the conversion rate, how many sales. Really good platform.
Very nice. The chat's pretty persistent.
They want that email address.
Oh yeah. Jack, Chrome Capture for capturing motion ads from anywhere in Chrome.
Yeah, I found this, it's a super basic tool, it's not really even a marketing tool per se, but I find a lot of times like executives or whoever want to see what our motion ads look like, or what other ads look like. And this, like, very quickly, you can just capture an ad, save it as a GIF, and then email it to somebody. And I just found that really helpful. Like, it's basic, but a lot of times, like, people will send static images of ads, and it's nice to be able to show someone the actual motion ad. And this does that very easily.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like I usually sending screenshots or looms, but
or Dropbox links,
Dropbox
which is
links,
kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, in fact, you can just screen a GIF with this is awesome. So
and just save it directly to downloads folder. Yep,
it's awesome. Cool. That's really cool. One more to the extensions list. Yeah, while we're on extensions, couple others, this doesn't relate to marketing at all, but there's this video speed controller app. So, if you don't want to listen to like some video 1x speed, you can basically toggle any video on Chrome to go to whatever speed. So if you want to listen to 1.5x, 2x, anything in between or above that, or if you just want to skip ads by going as fast as possible, you can just install this video speed controller. They'll do that for you. Another alternative to Ghostery is Built With. So Built With is pretty cool because, I think there is a free version, but then you have to pay for the detailed lookups. But they have really detailed and up-to-date data on websites. So you can see, like in this instance, exactly the tools they're using in a big, nice list, as well as tools that they've recently gotten rid of, right? So this is super useful for both technographic research when you're studying, you can study competitors, but you can also study, if you're like a SaaS tool, for example, you can use Built With data to see like who's churned our competitor in the last 3 months, right? And you can reach out to those folks and say, hey, saw you got rid of this tool. What are your plans for replacing it, right? You can kind of float right in. So super cool tool, and it's, it just gives you a lot of information. It's pretty rich.
One other that I'll toss out there real quick is, and this goes in the category of like, haven't tried it yet, but plan to. It's called UpViral. So UpViral is basically like, well, the promise is in perpetual traffic, because if you're running paid ads, as soon as you turn them off, your traffic goes away. Even if you're doing organic search, like it lasts longer, but you can't just let it sit for years and years and years, like your rankings will degrade over time. But UpViral is basically a virality app. So, and there's a lot of different use cases, pretty much no matter what your business is, you could probably find a use case, but the example, just to understand it, would be something like a giveaway. Like, let's say that you're doing a special giveaway, which is this really, really attractive thing that a lot of people are liking. You can say, hey, sign up for this, but in order to be eligible, grab this link, share it with 3 friends who also need to sign up. And it provides basically the custom links that can be tracked, as well as like a dashboard or a view for the individual about how many of their friends have actually come and done it. So you could theoretically do it with an ebook. Like you could say, hey, instead of your name and email, if you want this ebook or if you want this premium content piece, grab this link and send 3 of your friends. But there's some really compelling case studies here, mostly in the B2C space. I think you'd have to get a little bit more creative to do it on a B2B level. But there's some really compelling case studies of just like long-term traffic generation via these virality campaigns.
Yep, and Amber, the tool's called Built With, and I think it's builtwith.com. Where you can go, and they obviously also have a Chrome plugin, which should be free to at least use for some limited amount. Slintel, this is cool. Jim, do you want to tell us a little bit about Slintel?
Yeah, I'm in a quieter place. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you sound great.
Yeah, cool. So Slintel, we don't use it yet because it's pretty expensive. But basically what it is any kind of information, whether it's demographic, firmographic, technographic data, they have in these massive databases. And we looked at tons of providers. These guys were the most complete. One of the interesting things they can do is they can say, you know what, give us the name of your company. You put it in. They then go and figure out what categories you're kind of categorized in their system, and like it's related to like Capterra, G2, all those. And then they can tell you every one of your competitors and all the data about your competitors. Well, then they can also find out things like, oh, well, your competitor, these people are using your competitor's tool, and these are the firmographics and demographics of those people. So we were able to, just with some, meetings for demo, they were able to come back and say, here's all your competitors. It was like 70. And then they were able to say, these are the most profitable customers. that these guys are selling to, those guys are selling to, and those guys are selling to. We were able to make an adjustment, and we were able to go slightly up market with our time off cloud HR product. And so next year, it's something on our budget for next year. It's pretty neat.
That's cool. So it doesn't just help with like, marketing or buyer intent. It also helps with those sort of core business decisions, right? Because if you know, like, hey, there's this market opportunity that you can capitalize on or should be capitalized on that, you're not aware of, Slintel can provide that data and give you the confidence to make that move.
Yeah, we're trying to. We've not done outbound yet, so we're trying to build our first test for outbound and realigning all of our inbound content with that outbound campaigns. So it's kind of just getting the funnels adjusted and optimized around those personas, and then so that it matches the content that we want to experiment on the outbound. And Slintel has that data. We've pulled data from People Data Labs. That's another one, but that takes a lot of work. Up leads, it's a lot of work. This product was quite amazing, actually.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. We use Zoom Info right now for our data. But the fact that they have all this stuff baked in is pretty awesome. So might be one to vet when contract time comes up. It's cool. Any other cool tools?
Well,
Maybe.
Into is pretty cool. It's the only B2B visitor reveal product I've ever seen.
You mean Intent?
Oh yeah, Into. What was I thinking?
Blast from the past. So yeah, so this is pretty cool. So so there are a lot of tools on the market like Clearbit that allow you basically do some version of a reverse IP lookup. Zoom Info has a tool baked in called Websites that does this tool too and tells you what companies are visiting your website. This tool actually goes a step further and resolves the B2B identity of visitors on your website, right? So what they essentially have is an identity graph, which is basically a graph of all these individuals across the web, right? Millions and millions of them. And they're tracking, basically buying data from third-party sources to build their own identity graph to understand how these users are interacting. And then what they have is a pixel you essentially install on your site. And when visitors come to your site, it'll resolve as many of them as it can to actual identities, right? So you imagine, you have this pixel installed and you start getting a report that's, not just Jim Brown, you get the actual person, but Jim Brown, this is where he works. This is his, LinkedIn URL. And you can start to build a list of those anonymous visitors that are coming to your website, right? Now, this is useful for a couple of reasons. The obvious one being, that's an intent signal, and you can have your sales team then go and reach out to those people in a non-creepy way, not letting them know that you saw they were on their website, but just leveraging that data. But another thing you can do is take what it also gives you is a hash file. So it's basically each identity, each individual has a hash associated with it. And as you build an audience of these hash files, you can then take those hash files and upload them as a matched audience into YouTube, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, and market specifically to those people. Because what they'll do is you upload them as a matched audience, and because they're anonymized, Facebook and LinkedIn are able to match those individuals on their platform. And so that the audience that you're marketing to is just people who have visited and interacted with your website, right? That are B2B prospects. And you can obviously segment, like if you don't want to add certain people, you can do that. But super cool way to, kind of build an audience of actual real live prospects that have engaged and interacted with you and then port it wherever you want.
I know I came in late and I may have missed this, but is there a specific tool that anyone uses for like advertising competitive research, like AdSpy or?
Yep, we covered that a bit earlier, but yeah, we really like AdSpy. You know, that's really great for paid social. And then Spyfu is one that we use a lot for paid search and organic search as well. You know, Chris mentioned earlier, it's kind of a grain of salt with those tools because, you know, the data is not always 100% accurate, but it usually is directionally accurate and give you a good sense of like, hey, if a competitor has been running this ad for a long period of time, you know, it's got a lot of engagement on it. If it's a social post or a social ad, then you can know with a pretty high degree of certainty that's working for you, right? So yeah, AdSpy is great. Spyfu, Facebook ad library is sometimes a nice, quick, and easy way to find data. If you want to look at competitors' LinkedIn ads, LinkedIn posts, and then go to ads, you can see all their ads right there. And then, yeah, those are a few of the tools that we use. And yeah, there's a slew of others we're hoping to try soon.
Gotcha.
What do you use, Jaylon?
So I am like an advocate for AdSpy, but like you mentioned before, it's mostly for social. So I have been like recommended a tool called What Runs Where. But when I was looking at their demo, it's pretty expensive. So I haven't used it, but it covers like display network, social, and search from what I've seen.
Yep. So I know SEMrush has some display data as well as Moat, MOAT.com. SEMrush is like reasonably priced, but I know Moat and some of the other like display spy tools are more expensive.
Gotcha. And this is the Moat website?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you very much for today. Another fun session as usual. We'll be back next week. What's the topic next week, Jared?
It's the state of Google Ads in 2022. If your email.
Beat me to
Nice.
it. Yeah, we're talking Google Ads. That's right. Which is it's an interesting landscape now. Lots changed. I cut my teeth on Google Ads, and it's a very different platform than it was. I mean, in many ways the same, but you know, a lot fundamentally about how you deploy on the platform has changed. So that's going to be an interesting one next week.
Yeah, so if you guys have any burning questions about Google Ads, feel free to shoot them over to us, either by responding to that email or just shoot them over personally or on LinkedIn or whatever. And feel free to bring your friends. And otherwise, let us know, what other topics are big on your mind. And we'll see if we can't cover it.
All right, well, thank you, y'all. We're going to have the recording up of this in probably a day or two. So feel free to check that out. You know, Jaylon, I think midway through the call, we cover the AdSpy tools. So we go a little bit more in detail there, so you can check that out. And then, yeah, look forward to seeing you guys hopefully next week for talking some Google Ads.
Cool. See you guys later.
Thanks
Much
so
love.
much.
Have a good day.
Talk soon.
Bye.